Hello everyone, Coach Dave here, and I'm gonna do a quick track guide and some race tips for Daily Race C this week, which is in the Red Bull Group X car, I suppose, the slow one. This is like their version of Formula 3, around Autopolis, and very technical track, no matter which car you drive, but also in this particular car it's got a little bit of like a weird handling characteristic, which the front is very positive, but the rear, it has grip, but it's floaty. It's like a weird, like, downforcey. I don't know how to explain it, but it does take some getting used to. Took me some getting used to as well, but so far I've eventually figured it out and managed to get a reasonably competitive time. So here we are entering turn 2 and turn 3. You've got to keep up the rolling momentum through these corners. Don't worry, we will also review this from a different camera angle. And then through this hairpin, down to first gear just to get some rotation, and then immediately shift up to second so you can accelerate out the corner. Then heading through this long left, take a wide approach, but make sure you get onto the curb just to help with the rotation going through there, and then also just clipping the curb slightly through this long right-hander. On the right-hand side is a little bit of a tuft of grass which changes color. That's your braking marker between the two braking boards, down to first, and then accelerate as soon as you can, hard out of there down this hill. You'll gain a lot of time in that hairpin, so pay a lot of attention to that. Then this high-speed right-hander, fifth gear, I probably should have gone faster through there, but nevertheless, good enough. And then clipping the curb on the right to make sure that this left-handers open up, and then be very smooth through here, and do not clip the curbs through the next right and left. It creates too much instability in the car, so you want to keep a flat car through there, stable, by avoiding the curbs. This next left-hander can be flat if you use the curb in the right way, and the final right, I take a very tight line compared to the other guys because I rely more on getting onto the curb and minimizing distance covered as I go through the corner. Okay, we're now going to take a look from the aerial view just to see car positioning, and I'll continue to talk about the weird characteristics of this car. If you pay careful attention to my throttle, you'll see that I sometimes tap the throttle as I go down the gears. That's to keep the rear a little bit more stable. When you shift down in Gran Turismo, the rears tend to lock quite a lot. In fact, this happens in a lot of sim racing games. So sometimes you tap the throttle just to keep some rear balance, but it can also benefit you if you don't touch the throttle. If you need a bit more rotation on the entry, that locking of the rear kind of creates a little bit of rotation. So it's up to you. But in this car, I would recommend if you are left foot braking, because I know not all of you are, but if you are left foot braking, just tap the throttle slightly on the downshifts to keep the rear stable, because you don't want the rear sliding too much in the corners. Also, obviously be aware that the initial input of the front end of this car is very positive, but it can lead to understeer. So especially exit understeer when you get on the power, be mindful of that. Okay, heading down here again. Initially I was taking this right-hander in fourth gear, but there's enough grip to do it in fifth. So I watched Mikel Hizel's lap around here. He did a beautiful lap. He's about 6/10 ahead of me. I'm not even going to try and catch him. And the way he was able to get rotation in this car and glide it around the corners was just a masterstroke. Again, notice there that I avoided the curbs through that little section. I just wanted more stability in the car. It's very easy to lose the rear of your car through there, no matter which car you're in. It's also quite tight. So flat car is a better car, and then just clipping the curb as I run down to the start finish to, I think, log 1:41.7. Probably could have gone faster. I messed up sector 1 a little bit, but overall quite happy with my time. Now when we just jump to the race, we're going to cover 2 laps. The first one is a starting lap. I hold the handbrake at the start to be able to get a better reaction, because when I was holding full brakes, there was obviously, even once I reacted to the lights, there was still that moment where I had to release the brakes before the car could get moving. So holding handbrake is much quicker. Then I don't know why, but I should have defended the inside the whole way from the start line. So be careful there. I always recommend using a view which gives you this rear view mirror at the top. It's much more reliable than the radar, in my opinion, because you can see people coming towards you much quicker. So those of you who are struggling to keep your DR up because you've got rammers from behind, you have to be mindful of those rammers, because often they're not doing it on purpose. They're just misjudging, especially in the lower splits. They're misjudging their braking point when they're following you because they're looking at the wrong thing. So you have to always drive for them. It's like when you're driving a scooter or a bike on the road, a motorbike, you always have to think for the drivers around you, because it's not 100% guaranteed that they actually see you. Obviously we're all in cars here, so they can see you. It's just the judgment is not yet there, because they're not putting in mega hours into the game. So in my opinion, you should be using a view in this game which has a proper rear view mirror, so you can see the cars coming towards you and anticipate their moves a little bit better, and maybe react a little bit better, because the radar, you only see them at the last second and then it's bang. So be mindful of that whenever you are in the lower tiers and you want to boost your DR. You have to make some sacrifices with the ideal view. The hood cam is good for seeing forward, but when we're racing in the lower tiers, you want to look backwards basically, until you're at a point where you're racing against much more experienced drivers. Okay, final turn. Again, notice that my line going into the corner is a lot tighter than what you'll see in other lap guides. That's because I like to minimize, I always look for a way to minimize the distance I'm covering. And in that particular corner there, I think there's a huge advantage if you can get onto the inside curb and balance the car. You're going to get a really good drive out the corner without having to take a hugely wide line at the beginning. Turn 1, I shift down to second for a moment just to get the rotation that I was talking about. I still am using a bit of throttle to balance the car through there, but second gear just helps with a little bit of rotation. For turn 1, the key is to turn earlier than you think, because it's downhill and it's blind. If you turn only when you see the corner in turn 1, you're going to miss the apex every single time, and I did it quite a few times in this race. But I just wanted to show you the best lap of the race, because it's slightly slower than what you'll have in qualifying, mostly because of tire wear and fuel consumption. But yeah, this race you don't have to pit, you just have to master the car. You can drive flat out, and yeah, I think it's a really fun combination. So it took me, as I said, it did take me a while to learn it. Look through the hairpin there. I did a nice later apex. That is actually the ideal apex if you can get on that line. I advise in the race braking a little bit earlier to maximize apex speed, because if you miss the apex there, you will tend to lose a lot of time on the exit. Then through that high-speed right, I tried to carry more speed and almost binned it, so there was almost no W for this race. But again, please pay attention through here. If you can avoid these curbs, please do so, because it will help with the stability of the car. Okay, there I was clipping it a little bit, but if I remember correctly, there was a lot of sliding going on here, and I didn't think this would actually be a decent enough lap. But if you're doing 44s in the race, even low 45s, you'll be very competitive. Someone was mowing down the cones there, but there you go. I hope this helps. I hope this gives you a little bit of an edge. Big thank you to my sponsors and of course my Patreon members. Thanks to them, I have a new GoPro that I'm going to be putting on my onboard stories, going to be using for my onboard stories, which will hopefully improve things for you guys as well. So thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, I'll catch you around the next lap. Cheers.